Hey, welcome to the Really Charlie podcast. I'm Charlie Perry here to inform you about some black history from New Bedford, Massachusetts. Thank you for joining me. What's going on, Anthony? I appreciate you. Always. Constant supporter, my friend. I appreciate you. Um, Today, this podcast is actually, you know, I wanted to celebrate Black History Month. So I kind of twisted it a little bit and I said, well, let me concentrate on the black history in my hometown, which is New Bedford, Massachusetts. So I said, all right, well, there's a lot of things, a lot of stuff that I can find in this city because it goes back um several, since slavery days. There's definitely been so much history within this little city here, starting with Frederick Douglass. So Frederick Douglass, the Underground Railroad, the Quakers, it just goes on and on. And there's so many stories out there, um, that I can probably do something every single day of the year. But we're going to concentrate on the month of February. And as things, progress, if I still have the stamina to do it, because that's what we do. We don't have enough stamina sometimes to continue on with the history. And so some people just kind of just fade away after February 28th or February 29th, whatever. It all depends um, on the leap year. So, anyways, I'm going to continue and give you some history about a friend of mine. We've been friends for many years, and our families are real close, and it's a real honor for me to just give you some facts about this young man. All right, he is the first Cape Verdean Blue Angel, um, and that's elite. That's very elite. And they only select certain kind of people to drive to fly those jets, and my hometown friend was one of them. Cape Verde is on the west coast of Africa, and it has some islands. It's a country made up of islands, and that's where our people come from. And David was American born, and definitely we are all very proud of our heritage. Both American and Cape Verdean. So, all right, I'm going to continue. This is an article that I wrote several years back, and every now and then I just want to kind of bring up this subject again and again and again, because for a while there they forgot about him, until friends and family like I spoke up about it. So, all right, this is my interview with Crew Chief David Gonzalez. Um, and they call a Blue Angel, or well, in translation in Cape Verde and Creole is Andrew Azul, meaning Blue Angel. For years, I've always wondered why Crew Chief David Gonzalez of the U.S. Navy wasn't honored as the first Cape Verdean Blue Angel. There are many honors in regard to many accomplishments. However, this accomplishment is dear to me along with many family and friends of David Gonzalez. And Angel, Blue Angel, um, sorry, lost my place, lost my. Angel Azul means Blue Angel, in the Cape Verdean language known as Creole. Cape Verde, officially the Republic of Cabo Verde, is an island country made up of 10 volcanic islands located off the west coast of Africa. I reached out to the Blue Angel to talk about his career, for I have known David for most of my life. He truly is not the type of man that would go around praising himself to be vain in any way. He will always praise others before praising himself. The Gonzalez family was raised. Hey Joe, how you doing? Give Tony a high five for me, all right? That way you both high five each other. All right. See, Joe, it's all your fault. Made me lose my spot. To be in vain in any way, he will always praise others before praising himself. The Gonzalez family was raised in the West End of the city of New Bedford, Massachusetts. Their parents were Joseph and Wilhelmina, which they called her Mina Gonzalez, who had six boys and one girl: Joey, Kim, Larry, David, John, Danny, and Laura. Um, like Joseph Sr., the five older boys joined the U.S. Armed Forces. They covered each branch: Joseph Sr., U.S. Army; Joey, U.S. Air Force; Kim, U.S. Army; Larry, U.S. Marines; David, U.S. Navy; and John, U.S. Coast Guard. So they covered every single thing. Um, Crazy. So the youngest Danny works at Bowles for Bowles, speakers. Amazing, amazing talent. Really intelligent kid, man. Well, grown man now. I decided to meet up with David along with his big bro, Joey G. After I received David's approval to write about him was such great news. I've always had an admiration for the Navy's Blue Angels, for I lived in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, which is outside Eglin Air Force Base. Periodically, they would visit the base, and we hung out. Um, sorry, they would visit the base. All right, so I lived in Fort Walton, and they would always have shows there, and it was just an amazing thing to see. And actually, that was the first time in my life that I had seen the Blue Angels and started learning the history of them. So very, very nice. And actually, I believe during the time that I was in Fort Walton Beach, my friend David was in Pensacola, Florida, which is not too far. And I didn't even know it, believe it or not. And he didn't know where I was. We were incognito Negroes. I'm sorry. Shouldn't be saying that on Black History Month, right? So as so I would go to the shows and see it. And so I sat down with the Blue Angel and we hung out in his living room. And as his daughter hung out with Uncle Joey, kind of took her into the room and did what great uncles do, and just hung out with her while we did this interview. Um, I placed down my tape recorder just so I could capture every bit of our conversation. Initially, that was a great plan. However, the next day, I accidentally deleted the whole thing. Crazy. I was so upset. Yeah. What it is, as I said. I kind of took the blame. And when you make mistakes on your own, you can only blame yourself, and that was a mistake that I did. All right. In January 1949, Joseph Gonzalez Sr. joined the U.S. Army. In January 1981, David Gonzalez joined the U.S. Navy. This was not planned by either one of them. It was just interesting. It was just fate. David eventually became crew chief David Gonzalez. During his career, he cried out for the Blue Angels twice. Tried out for the Blue Angels twice. Um, and he was finally recommended to become a Blue Angel on the second attempt. As we sat and spoke of many things, he showed me photos of himself and the photo of his son David Jr., who wore his father's jacket that displayed all of the crew chief's missions from Australia to Beirut and into the infamous Grenada, including many flights into Puerto Rico, Rio de Janeiro, St. Thomas, St. Croix, Jamaica, Cuba, England, Spain, France, Egypt, Africa, and Israel. Simply a career. To make us all proud, that's what he did. He just made us all proud. The Gonzalez boys had a strong bond with their father. Mr. Gonzalez passed away while David was still in the Navy. Uh, Throughout David's career, he always kept in contact with his family. David talked about receiving a letter from his dad. He explained that the Navy um, has a mail transportation system which goes ship to ship. Routinely, they both would mail letters, being being business and personal. His dad mailed out two items in separate envelopes. One envelope wasn't received and was lost, but the second was received. This was very essential, for this letter would be the last letter he would receive from his dad. David received some news shortly afterwards that suddenly, out of nowhere, that his dad passed away. All right, the next trip to New Bedford. Let me scroll down a little bit more. All right. The next trip to New Bedford was going to be his dad's funeral. Just discussing of David's, um, just discussing of his dad brings a crackle to David's voice, which is normal and should happen. And tears to the crew chief. It was very sad and difficult for me to see my man, my brother, my friend cry. Um, but it happened. Dad was an amazing man. Let's see. There were many missions which lives were lost, and even him surviving those life or death situations, but nothing compared to losing his dad. David's dad, even after death, had his son's back. It's an amazing story coming up. Crew Chief David Gonzalez explained at times he escaped deadly situations because of his dad. One night, while on ship, the crew was preparing to turn all the ship's lights out to avoid detection. Crew Chief Gonzalez was stationed down below, but decided to check on his crew. He said that wasn't what he needed to do. He shouldn't have been doing it. All right. While on the flight deck, the lights went out. Everyone else was down below. The crew chief was left alone in complete darkness. Any wrong move could be harmful or tragic. Jets were secured on the deck with chains and cables throughout the deck that was not visible. You couldn't see anything. But his familiarity of the ship wasn't good enough in complete darkness. Miraculously, after trying to feel his way to the lower deck, a hologram or heavenly appearance of his dad appeared in front of him. And so it was so dark to see. Just imagine going outside. There's no lights. The power's out. You can't see anything. And that's how it was. But he's in the middle of the ocean. All right. So he's seen a hologram or heavenly appearance of his dad appeared right in front of him. It was a guiding light to David. As every step he took towards his dad would step back. The crew chief continued to follow his dad as he'd done over his lifetime. One step after another, he was avoiding all obstacles. His heavenly father, Joseph Gonzalez Sr., was leading his son where he needed to be, and that was out of harm's way. Crew Chief Gonzalez walked down below to reunite with his crew. They all said, "We seen you out there." But then the directive of lights out was administered. At that point, they lost sight of everything, including Crew Chief Gonzalez. Thank God he sent David an angel, and that happens to be his dad or his father, Joseph Gonzalez Sr. In conclusion, thousands line the runways in anticipation. They come from miles around for a show they won't seem soon forget, rather. And from the moment those famous blue and gold FA-18 Hornets make their appearance before the bleachers, these spectators known, they won't be disappointed. The Blue Angels is the United States Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron. With aviators from the Navy and the Marines, the Blue Angels team was formed in 1946. That's about Tony's age, making it the second oldest formal flying acrobatic team under the same name in the world. After the French, I cannot pronounce that. Oh, I am not, and I wrote this. This is crazy. Formed in 1931, the Blue Angels 6 demonstration pilots currently fly McDonnell Douglas FA-18 Hornets, typically in more than 70 shows at 34 locations throughout the United States each year, where they still employ many of the same practices and techniques used in their aerial display their inaugural 1946 season. So it's the same routine since then. An estimated of 11 million spectators view the squadron during the air shows each full year. The Blue Angels also visit more than 50,000 people in a standard show season, March through November, in schools and hospitals. The Blue Angels have flown for more than 260 million spectators. This man, this sailor, this veteran that I speak of, this father and husband, truly doesn't want to be honored. He doesn't want to be honored. But I asked and wrote that he be recognized. Crew Chief David Gonzalez, a Blue Angel we have in our presence and among our daily routines, the first Cape Verdean American to be named one of the U.S. Army or U.S. Navy's elite Blue Angels. David holds the record since 1946 on being the only New Bedford or Creole on the Blue Angels team from 1995 to 1999. 30 years in the Navy, retired. We are proud of you, David. Thank you very much for listening to that. I really thank you, Tony. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And feel free if you want to come to the stage, you can. But definitely was so honored to just write this about him. And the city council gave him a certificate and awarded him. And as special as this is, the amazing thing is that not every city councilor attended. Not every city councilor signed that certificate. That's an amazing thing that you would neglect a veteran like that. You see the countries that he went to. You see the missions, amazing missions. And some people are just, I don't know, I don't know. I can't. I'm not even gonna call them anything. But other than that, they just. It's amazing that you wouldn't pay this man the respect, especially when he's from your hometown. You know, this is a world feat. This is a world accomplishment. A country. Well, I say a world because the U.S. Navy is fighting all over the world for a lot of countries. So here he is, the first at 19 in 1995. Could you imagine that? So there was a lot of brothers in the Navy, and there was a lot of Cape Verdeans in the Navy. A lot of them, and that's just from my hometown, and he was the first. So thank you for joining me. This has just been special doing Black History from New Bedford. It's been thank you. It's been a real pleasure for me to bring out these stories because the amazing thing is like when I'm looking for stories and I put in just what the title says, Black History from New Bedford, and guess what? Hey Steve, what's going on? Guess what? Your friend Charlie Perry is all over the internet just by this title, just by this. It's amazing. And Fireside, yeah, it's amazing. So I'm loving it. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. So I will be back on tomorrow with another story. I have a busy family day, so I don't know what time I'm gonna come on, but it's most likely gonna be later than sooner, unless I wake up real early and then I do it. So it all depends. But I will be on at some point tomorrow. Thank you for joining me, and everyone on replay. Thanks for listening. Everyone on YouTube, you are awesome. I appreciate it. And my friends on Facebook, thank you for listening. This is awesome. Tony, Jill, you know me. I will be in the audience of your shows. I will definitely be there. Steve, nice to meet you. And please follow me, and I'll follow you and support you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. You guys are awesome. And I'm not going to sing with the Waybot, but I'm going to let him sing his tunes. All right. God bless y'all. Love you.